friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. I'm Allie and I'm a watercolor artist who loves to share tips and techniques and tutorials over here with you in hopes that it helps you in your watercolor journey. I especially love sharing everything about pet portraits. I adore doing pet portraits as a big part of my business over here. So if you are a pet portrait artist yourself, or if you just want to get started within watercolor pet portraits, be sure to hit the like button and hit subscribe because I share more tips and techniques every week over here on a variety of watercolor pet portrait tutorials. So you know those times when you get an order, a pet portrait order, or whatever it may be, a custom watercolor commission, and then the customer sends over their reference photo and you kind of cringe. The photo is out of focus, it is dark, and it's really hard to see, and there's really nothing worse than having a difficult reference photo to have to work from, because it really does dictate the outcome of your quality of your painting in the end. So a lot of the times I'll recommend not taking on a portrait if it's a really hard reference photo to work from. I want to share with you some tips on how to fix a reference photo. So in your Photoshop, there's a few things that you can do to try and see if you can make this reference photo work for you so you can take the order and produce the painting for the customer. Hopefully these little tips and techniques will help you make you feel a lot more confident in being able to complete a painting even if the reference photo is not so great. Take a look at this very first reference photo, and it really is a great reference photo because of the fact that this dog is looking straight at the camera. It's really got some pretty great lighting. The only issue that could lie is here on the eye and the nose is a little bit dark. This is actually a pretty easy fix, and it won't be perfect, but we can at least get areas lighter to be able to see the contrast between like the dark and light areas of the eye and a little bit of the nose here. So over here in our layers panel, if you click the plus button down here, that will add a new layer. What I like to do for instances like this, just to lighten certain areas of the dog, is to come on over and grab the brush tool, making sure that we have the white color selected. I always turn it to about anywhere between 30 to 50% opacity, so I'll just leave it here at 40%. And we will just go ahead and paint right over the dog's eye like that, and even try to paint some of the right side of this nose here. I am hoping this will create a nice lighter, brighter area of those two areas. But first, let's get rid of this harsh edge that we just painted. So if you come on up here to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, so that's going to leave a little bit of a softer edge. And you can play around with the radius down here. Click OK. This doesn't quite help us. So what we will do is over here in our layers panel, in the effects, if you come on down to overlay or soft light, you can see that it's starting to just really brighten those areas. I always tend to choose soft light. So let's just turn this layer on and off. Here you can see the eye, it really brightens up there enough to be able to see that this is the pupil area and the lighter, brighter spots. Even you can see the cornea and the side part of the dog's eye here. Down here in the nose too, you can see that nostril does appear here. If you have some good experience with pet portraits, you can understand how this nostril shape really is, so this will work for me. I would definitely take on this reference photo in this custom portrait. Next, let's take a look at this beautiful golden retriever. And again, this is another great reference photo because the dog is looking straight at the camera, and I really love how the mouth is open here. It looks like he's smiling. The only issue I see is that the color of the photo looks enhanced and it's super reddish orange, and it's not the accurate color of a golden retriever. So you can look up a golden retriever and get the colors that you want to try and match. This is a really simple fix that we can save this reference photo. If you come on down here, you will see the hue and saturation as well as color balance. Let's first start with color balance. So here we have our sliders. We can obviously tell that this picture of the golden retriever is too red, so let's pull this slider down, and that is already really helping to solve those really reddish tones. I think that I see a lot of the yellows, so let's just see if pulling it one direction, maybe it does look better going more in the yellow, brings out more of that golden color. We'll just see if the slider helps. I don't think the magenta or the green will help much here. So we'll just go ahead and put that back here. We can play once more. I don't want to pull it down too far because then you can see that the black areas of the nose and the eyes are turning a different color. Show you again by clicking this layer on and off, and just by seeing that transformation is a huge transformation because now I can see a more accurate color of what I need to color mix for this golden retriever. So here is another reference photo. Again, another great one. The yellow lab is looking straight at the camera, and I can see actually the eyes are really great too because they're nice and clear. I have a nice smile on this dog, which is always a plus if you can get that. But the only issue that I see is that the dog's nose is fuzzy. So there are ways that we can kind of fix this and sharpen it. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to give me enough to see where I can kind of see those edges. And really, you might not even need to fix that. It's really not too big of a deal if you have had experience painting before and understanding noses. I will show you now how to sharpen this nose of the dog. So with the lasso tool selected, you will go ahead and just do kind of a nice rough selection of that blurred area. And over here, let's just double click this layer to make it active and live. And then I will hit the Command C to copy and Command V to paste. So what I did there was just create another layer of that nose. It's not going to then hurt the original image here that I have. And now with this nose layer selected, we will come on up here to filter. And then there's one that's just called sharpen, and let's do smart sharpen. That's the one that we need to click. And this is where we are just going to play around with the settings and see. I already can see that this is making a huge difference of being able to see like the actual shapes of the nostrils, but you can pull these sliders up and down. That direction does not look better. So that looks good right there. And some will help sharpen the areas. You don't probably need to do too much here, just enough to be able to see the shapes. That is a nice example on how to sharpen a certain area to be able to better see the edges of a feature. Okay, so here is one more reference photo that I think I can save to be able to paint this dog. It is quite dark on one side of the face, as you can tell. The light is super harsh and hitting it from the side, and there is a little bit that we can do to try and brighten it. It won't be perfect, but let's go ahead and grab the lasso select tool over here. So here we are, just kind of drawing a nice rough selection of this dog. Let's grab the ear here. Let's make this layer active. And let's do a Command C and a Command V. That'll give us the selection of that dog's face right there. And that way we aren't going to damage or alter the original photo, just in case we need to go back to it. So now we are just going to work on this specific layer. If you come on up here, we can go to Image Adjustments, and let's do Brightness and Contrast first and see if we can fix that part of the face by sliding up the brightness. So I still want to have some shadow in that side of the dog's face because of the fact that the light source is coming from this side, but I just don't want it to be quite so drastic. So we can kind of play with these sliders. So let's just see what that looks like. And obviously we have this harsh edge. We this time want to add on a layer mask to that side of the dog's face on that layer. So down below here in the layers panel, there's this button down here, and that adds a layer mask. What I want to do now is grab the brush tool and making sure I have black selected, because that's going to erase part of those edges. Just make my brush a little smaller. Check to see the hardness. I want to be 0%. That just means that the brush is going to be nice and soft and fuzzy. As you can see, I have a lower opacity. Let's just bump that up a little bit. And just by clicking and painting that area, I'm softening the edges. So let's go ahead. This part doesn't necessarily matter over here. Just kind of showing how we can blend that together. Let's turn that layer off, see how dark that is, and let's turn it back on. So just that alone does make a little bit of a help and a difference, so it's not quite so drastic. You have to have this part of the layer selected and come on up here to Image Adjustments, and let's see what else we could maybe play with. Exposure could be something maybe we could play with. Let's turn it either up, and let's see what that does. So sometimes you're not going to get a perfect fit. Not sure I like that. I'm going to hit cancel. Let's go back up to image adjustments. Let's play with the levels. And so if I slide that mid-tone slider down here, it does helps to bring some of those areas that are quite so dark down. So I know that the colors aren't quite as accurate when we color corrected the lighting here, but at least I can understand the colors on this side of the face and can just apply some of the color mixing to the right side of the face here that I'm looking at this photo. And I think I could save this painting. Again, if you don't feel comfortable and don't feel like you can see the colors accurately, then I just really highly recommend not taking on a portrait that you don't feel comfortable painting. But hopefully these 4 ways help to show you that you can alter images so you can better see the colors and just be able to make it a little bit more accurate when it comes to painting. So those are a few of my favorite ways that I use Photoshop to adjust a reference photo when I take on a custom portrait and the reference photo just isn't quite perfect to work from. Don't be afraid to say no, because it is always most important to be able to do a wonderful job on the painting for the customer than it is to take on a painting where you can't just quite see the details well enough to complete a really top quality painting for them. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you really enjoyed today's video. If you are looking for more pet portrait tips, be sure to check out the full pet portrait series that I have created over on my channel, and I'll leave a link for that down below here too. And you can see a whole wide variety of topics that I love to cover when it comes to watercolor pet portraits. Thanks so much for being here, and I will see you next week.